Well, hey there, y'all. Guess who's back? That's right, NFL prediction season is back, baby. We've got playoff picks, division winners, Super Bowl contenders. The Rams know exactly where they are right now. This is a team that's all in and focused on winning immediately.
They've got a veteran quarterback, a reliable running game, and a defense that knows how to capitalize when opportunities show up.
Even in one of football's toughest divisions, I think they find a way to keep themselves at the top of the division. I've got the Rams finishing 14-3. San Francisco was right in the middle of the division race last season and never backed down from the challenge.
This team has been tested through adversity and injuries. They know how to handle pressure and keep finding ways to win games.
That experience matters over a long season in certain situations. I've got the 49ers finishing 12-5 and staying right in the division race all season. Seattle enters the year as the defending champions, but every championship team faces new challenges the following season. Super Bowl hangovers are real. Last season's success came from efficiency and balance. The question now is whether they can maintain that same formula after some offseason changes. They are still a tough team.
I think they'll still be one of the better teams in the conference, but not quite as dominant. I've got Seattle finishing 11-6.
Arizona still feels like a team that doesn't know what they are. There are plenty of questions and not enough solutions right now.
The biggest challenge is the organization doesn't know where they are. Are they rebuilding? Are they tanking? Do they even know where they are? Until they establish a clear direction, it's hard to see them competing in this division. I've got Arizona finishing 2-15.
Philadelphia is living through one of the strongest stretches in franchise history. The expectations are sky high every single season.
Last year's offense wasn't as explosive as many expected, but this organization has a habit of finding problems and fixing them quickly. That's why I still trust this team moving forward. I've got Philadelphia finishing 13-4 and winning the division.
Washington went through a rough stretch last season after entering the year with a lot of hype and excitement.
Injuries played a major role, and when key players were unavailable, the entire team struggled to find consistency.
I think they'll be competitive most weeks, but not quite ready to take the next step. I've got Washington finishing 8-9.
Dallas entered last season with big expectations, but things never really came together the way fans were hoping.
There were issues all across the roster, and while some adjustments were made, I don't think enough was done to solve the bigger problems.
Until those issues get fully addressed, it's hard for me to buy in. I've got Dallas finishing 7-10.
The Giants are starting a new chapter. There are pieces on this roster that can help build something positive moving forward.
The challenge is depth and development. Building a competitive roster takes time, and they're still working through that process.
I think better days are ahead, but this season is still about growth. I've got the Giants finishing 5-12.
Green Bay keeps finding its way into the playoff conversation year after year. That's become the standard for this franchise. The formula has worked for a long time, but this division keeps getting tougher, and the margin for error keeps getting smaller.
I still trust their consistency more than most teams in this division. I've got Green Bay finishing 12-5. Detroit went through a difficult season filled with changes, injuries, and challenges they never fully overcame. There were moments where the Lions still looked dangerous, but injuries and aggressive mistakes kept getting in the way. I think they'll bounce back and stay in the playoff race all season. I've got Detroit finishing 10-7. Chicago was one of the biggest surprises in football last season. They found ways to win games when nobody expected it. The quarterback took a big step forward, but there are still questions about whether the rest of the roster can keep pace.
Last year's late-game magic is tough to repeat. I think Chicago stays competitive, but finishes 8-9.
Minnesota is still trying to climb back into contention and become a factor in the division once again. The biggest challenge has been finding long-term stability at the most important position on the field.
Until they find that stability, it's difficult to see them competing consistently. I've got Minnesota finishing 4-13.
Carolina has been one of the toughest teams to figure out. One week they look like contenders, and the next week they look like they're still rebuilding.
What I do like is the progress they've made over the last few seasons. This offseason may have been their biggest step forward yet.
If they can finally put together some consistency, they'll be dangerous. I've got Carolina winning the division at 10-7. Tampa Bay experienced a season full of ups and downs. At times they look dangerous, and at other times they struggle to find momentum.
Injuries and a tough schedule made life difficult, and that challenge seemed to follow them throughout the season.
I think they'll stay competitive, but I don't see them making a major leap. I've got Tampa Bay finishing 8-9. New Orleans is putting pieces together, but they're also preparing for major changes as the roster continues to evolve.
There are some encouraging signs, especially at times with their quarterback, but this still feels like a team building toward the future.
The foundation is being built, but I think they need more time. I've got New Orleans finishing 6-11. Atlanta wants to become a contender, and they've spent the last few years trying to accelerate that process.
The biggest question remains the same: finding long-term stability at quarterback and building the offense around that answer.
Until that position gets settled, it's tough to see them taking the next step. I've got Atlanta finishing 5-12.
Hope you enjoyed my NFL predictions. Once the preseason kicks off, I'll be back with updated predictions and even deeper analysis. This channel is all about football: predictions, rankings, reactions, analysis, and plenty of content that's made to be fun, engaging, and enjoyable for every football fan. If you haven't already, smash that like button, hit subscribe to join the community, and ring that bell so you're the first to know when new football content drops. See you in the next one.